Hello. Right, we're live. So, hello everyone. So, thanks for tuning in this morning. It is just gone 10 o'clock in the UK, so it's bright and early for us. And yeah, this morning we're going to be chatting to the Happy Startup School, Wiro Kuipers in the English saying. I'm not going to try and say the Dutch version of this. So, greetings to you, Wiro.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Do you want to be able to say the Dutch version of this, just so that I don't kind of try and stumble over it myself?
The Dutch version of my own name, it's
yes.
Wiro Kuipers.
Okay, brilliant.
But so Wiro Kuipers, you said, it's okay as well. I will listen, yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, this morning we're going to be talking a little bit about the work you do, and I understand you get involved a lot with Lego Serious Play, and the second week of homeschool, we've been talking about purpose and why that's important for any kind of 21st century business. And obviously, you seem to combine the idea of purpose and happiness at work along with Lego. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do?
Yeah, sure. I already told my name, and what I do. I'm a self-employed consultant and facilitator working with Lego Serious Play. And what I do most of the time is helping organizations or teams rediscover their purpose and use it as a guiding light for their decisions and use it as a as a booster for happiness in their teams or in their organizations. And purpose is a theme you can use most of your time on watching out of the window and waiting for great answers to find you on what you are planning to do, why you are doing that, what kind of impact you want to have. And Lego is a tool that gets you out of the thinking mode and makes you think with your hands, I sometimes say. So it's a cool combination of two principles: finding purpose or finding shared meaning, and using Lego as a tool most people have ever played with to do that.
Cool. And so, what got you into Lego Serious Play?
Excuse me? What did you ask?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I mean, what inspired you to get involved in using Lego as a tool for this kind of work?
Well, I've been working on the field of purpose / identity for a while. I used to work as an identity marketeer. Used to help organizations rediscover who they are, why they are there, and what they want to do. And when I stopped doing that from the organization where I used to work, where I used to have a job, I became self-employed, like a lot of people in the Netherlands are. And I started to develop my toolkit with other tools, the business model canvas being one of them. And in one, it's a story in itself. I found myself in Berlin at a masterclass of Alex Osterwalder talking about the business model canvas with about 50 to 70 other people, mostly German people. Mm-hmm. And there was one guy from Hamburg who I came to talk with, and he said to me, "Oh wow, identity, that's a great theme. I work on that field as well, and I use Lego Serious Play as a tool to make people find who they are and why they are doing what they do." Mm-hmm. And right at that moment, it was like being struck by a thunderlight. I noticed that I used to play with Lego a lot, and I couldn't do anything else of thinking that I had to be trained as a facilitator to use this intervention as well. And that's about 2 years ago. It was in April or May 2012, I guess.
Cool. And in terms of the work that you do, I mean, even before you discovered that, who would you say inspired you to get into this field and find more purpose in business?
It's a tool that really fits into that kind of business. But the last 3 or 4 years, when the time that I have been self-employed, I've been doing lots of assignments that are not always connected to identity or to purpose, but mostly to shared meaning. Mm-hmm. And you might imagine that when you're working with a team of people and you're talking about a difficult word or difficult principle, like modern leadership or something like innovation, that every person in the team has his own interpretation of such a word or such a principle. Mm-hmm. And Lego is a tool I mostly use to make people build shared meaning. Especially when you're working with a team, it can help really good to find a shared picture of the things you're working on. And it might be a difficult word, might be a principle, might be your team itself. So you can build what your team is, what your principles as a team are, what your most important values are. To building your complete strategy. I can show you some pictures later on.
Cool.
To illustrate it.
And do you have any kind of not resistance, but do you get people who are a bit skeptical of this approach in a meeting or a workshop that you're doing with people, or do people just seem to?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I mostly, when I introduce myself, I saw you on Facebook and Google Hangout. You introduced me with my Lego minifigure. You might have seen that it's kind of resembling, but sometimes I use this figure as well. Show it on the camera. We had once we had a meeting of international Lego Serious Play facilitators in Legoland, of course, and we were at the table working with Lego ourselves, and I got this little person, this little figure, and when I constructed it, I immediately said to the people on my table, hey, look, it's the nutty North Korean professor. That's when North Korea had some threats to the States, especially. And immediately I had the feeling that I had to keep it because it would be something in my own model. And I use it to introduce myself when I talk about Lego to, in primarily say, look, I am kind of this nutty North Korean professor who has a kind of strange elixir to solve very complex issues really in no time. I don't need 3 or 4 weeks or 3 or 4 months to discover a strategy, but I can make you build it out with Lego in 2 days' time. And it might seem a bit strange, because most people see Lego as a toy, but when I get to play them, when I get them to play, then they mostly notice what's something different to play seriously than to play with your kids in the weekends.
Yeah.
Just laying on the ground and playing with some Duplos or something.
And I've seen in the UK a couple of people working with Lego as a tool to create customer kind of archetypes, so as like empathy mapping. So they're using these minifigures to kind of create their maybe ideal customer, or trying to think about these people as real people rather than just something in their head. I don't know if you've ever used it in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like you kind of have these superpowers when you create these Lego figures, right? They kind of, you almost like accentuate some of the characteristics that they might have, just so you kind of reinforce those.
That's a way to use it. Wait, I will look up the picture to illustrate a way Lego can be used as well. Is this visible now?
Yep.
All right. Because most of the time people think this is Lego. You see this little kid playing with Duplo. Well, that is a way to play with Lego. This is the way my daughter plays with Lego. When she grows up, this might be something she is going to build, and in about a year or 10, maybe this is a kind of thing she will build, and it's very recognizable. Everybody can see what this is, and everybody knows what it means, I guess. But when you build something like this, that's a totally different story. Or to be more exact, this is about 40 different stories. When you are into sporting, when you're into games, then you might see a bobsled team in this. When you're into superheroes, you might see Batman, who is watching over the people of Gotham City. And when you're into going out in the weekends, then you might see someone shaking cocktails here. And for people who love Breaking Bad, sometimes people see this person as Walter White in his meth lab. So there's several stories you can tell of one construction of only 30 or 40 bricks. So it's really about the meaning you give to certain bricks yourself. And that's a way to build individually. Here you see my own building with a crazy, nutty North Korean professor who's taking care, you could say, of this theme of individuals, all with their great ideas. I help them focus them on kind of the same north, so they can be successful with their ideas. They know in which direction they have to go, what kind of decisions they have to make, and to make everything move, to bring some movement. So for me, when I see this little picture, it reminds me of the things I want to do. So when I'm building individually, I can, sometimes I discover the things I want. I discover things I want to say, I want to explain, which I didn't know I knew.
Right. And do you find that it's an easier way to remember what you were trying to do at the beginning of a project, maybe, so that you don't lose sight of the goal or the thing you're trying to do? Yeah.
So it's in one. This is just an individual building. When we're building with more people, it might be that we get a table where all of our individual models are positioned around each other, just to see what the logic is. You can build a kind of a landscape, and even in the more further way, you could say, it might be something like this on the table. And for us, when we enter this room, it's chaotic. Was for those people around this table, there's maximum clarity on the table. They know that this is their shared identity, with all their individual efforts put into it, and that this around the identity is their strategic landscape, you could say, including all connections where information, knowledge, money, etc. flows. So they can, in fact, they can distill their simple guiding principles from it, their strategic guiding principles.
And how do you capture this sort of after the workshop, to make sure that this is fresh in people's minds, as they go forward?
Well, sometimes just in this way. So in pictures. Mostly it would be great to take your own model and bring it back to your office to look at it every day. Sometimes pictures help. Sometimes I use a visual facilitator who draws out everything people say, because it's not always just about the model people build, but it's more about the story they tell. And sometimes they tell the story about their individual model or about a shared model, with some words in between the lines. So they won't exactly tell what they mean, but you can feel that there's something there. And when I have a visual facilitator joining me, he draws out everything he hears, sees, feels, and sometimes does it in a more appealing way than one individual Lego model shows.
Cool.
So that can be a way, and sometimes I just make a video of the story people tell about the shared model.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I think I've downloaded the Lego Movie app, so you can do I don't know if you've ever used that for the serious play, but I've done it with my kids, which is kind of a lot of fun, taking little stills and turning it into a little story.
You can make a stop motion movie, or you can make your own comic book kind of illustration, something like that. Yeah. Cool.
And in terms of some takeaways, I'm keen to know, obviously this works well in the group setting with maybe some bigger companies where you're trying to get some cohesion across the team. Can you see it working for some startup founders who are at the early stage, like people in the homeschool? Could they get benefit from this approach? And if so, any tips for them on how they could get started in some way and make it accessible for them?
Some of the things I I just told were about groups indeed. They were about having maximum engagement and finding clarity when you're working with more people together. But one of the most important powers of Lego Serious Play, of a kind of tool of this, like this, is in fact thinking with your hands. And usually you can just grab a few bricks just when you're thinking or when you're brainstorming or anything like that, and just try to build something, even if you think it doesn't imagine something, it doesn't seems to look like something, and try to tell a story about it. And it's just a way to get access to your to a part of your creativity you usually can't reach.
I know at the summer camp we had recently, we had someone there run a serious play workshop, and I think the line she said, which stuck with me, was, if you don't know what to build, just start building. Yeah, just get your hands on the bricks and see that there's something happening when you use your hands. Yeah. And it's not just with Lego, it's with drawing as well, it's with using Play-Doh as well. So your brain is hardwired to think in 3D. And when you're just thinking out or just working at your screen, you're not using your whole brain. So it's using Lego as a way to use your whole brain and discover what you didn't know about yourself. And that's a way. Just get some of the Lego of your little kid or your small nephew, or buy your own kit. That's a way to do it. Or you can join a Lego Serious Play workshop somewhere close to your own hood. And recently there's a book, Building Better Business. It's about Lego Serious Play. It's of two of the persons, Per Christiansen and Robert Rasmussen, who are two of the master trainers who train people to become trained facilitators. And the book is on Amazon as well, so for people who like to read, they can order that book. And there's a training for facilitators themselves next January in London. So for people who want to become facilitators them as well, they can join this training. Cool. And maybe we'll get you over one day to do a startup workshop for Lego Serious Play, maybe. Oh, that would be cool. Yeah. Cool. Well, notice we're over time. It's amazing how quickly these 15 minutes go. But if anyone on the homeschool or outside wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way of doing that? Well, they can find me in the Facebook page, and they can send me an email. But the name underneath my picture, Wiro Kuipers, when you just write it down and you put @gmail.com behind it, then I guess I might be reached. And on Twitter it's @Wiro Kuipers, so you might find me there as well. Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time out today and sharing that. Some great insight for everyone, and hopefully we'll get some of these startups getting busy with Lego and hopefully not stealing some toys from their nephews, but if it gets them hooked, then that's a good start, right? Cool. Cool. All right. Cheers, Wiro. Thanks much for your time. You're welcome. Thanks. Everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.